Money Talks.
Money Talk.
Money Talks. Money Talks.
Hi, my name is Olumuyiwa Adeyemi, President CFA Society Nigeria. Join me and a host of other financial industry practitioners for Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria.
Money Talks.
Money Talk.
Money Talks. Money Talks.
Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money. Hello everyone and welcome to Money Talks. Money Talks is brought to you by CFA Society Nigeria and is a financial literacy program. Smart. Uzechi is my name. You can call me Captain Smart and you will be financially correct. Today on the program, Olumuyiwa Adeyemi is my guest. Olumuyiwa Adeyemi is an experienced investment banker and stockbroker. He has over 25 years in the financial services sector. He holds a BSc in Business Administration from the University of Ilorin and is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, CIS. His expertise spans stockbroking, asset management, securities dealing, corporate finance, and public sector advisory. He has held senior leadership roles, including Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer positions at Morgan Capital Securities, Lead Securities and Investment, and Long-Term Global Capital. Currently, Olumuyiwa is the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer at Atlas Portfolios Limited. He's also a sponsored individual with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and a council member of the Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria, ASHON. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome this evening my guest, Olumuyiwa Adeyemi, who is seated handsomely here in the studio. Can I call you Muyiwa?
Muyiwa is perfect. Muyiwa is
Good
perfect.
evening to you.
It's a pleasure being here, and I'm excited. Can't wait to share ideas with the audience so that they can become enriched in financial runnings. Thank you.
In fact, if we were to end the program now, you have already given us why we're here. You sounded like you have been coming to this program from the get-go since we started 6 quarters ago. It tells me we're going to have a very, very wonderful and robust conversation here with Olumuyiwa, and we're going to be discussing financial advisory nuggets for the elderly.
Yeah.
Even if you're not old, you're going to get old one day.
Sure.
So you better learn the wisdom now so that when you get old, you find it very, very handy. Just to let you know, you can get in touch with us 0700 923 923 923. That's by voice calls or sending us messages on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. You can send WhatsApp messages there or send us voice notes to get answers from Olumuyiwa, who is an expert this evening. Once again, to call us on the telephone 0700 923 923 923 or send messages to WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. It's either you're old or you're getting old. So if you cannot escape this one, you just can't escape this one. So Olumuyiwa, maybe to start with, when you say for the elderly, who do you describe as the elderly?
Thank you. Can I call you Captain?
Yes.
That's perfect. It makes me very comfortable because I feel somebody is leading me well.
Yeah.
All right. So elderly, there's a circle for life. Of course, there's a time we are born, there's a time we get old, and then there's a time we get older, and then there's time we pass and then return back to where we had come from. And so the elderly now will suit more of the third part I'd mentioned, the quarter to going back home.
Yeah.
But it's important one plans well all through one's lifetime, especially after you have been born, and then you have that time you're accumulating, that time you're out of school. You must plan and must set some goals. A lot of people who are successful today, who had aged gracefully, started early. And so for me, the first advice to all of us is start early, so I can plan well and then can age well and live. You don't have to be sick while you're old. We find a lot of people in that position right now. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to be looking at your children or people that are around your family to survive well. So that catches the time that I would want to refer to as the elderly space.
And do you agree that many, if not most of the sicknesses elderly people deal with these days, they can be traced to financial concerns?
Yes, a lot of it. Because one thing that is synonymous to old age, I can say more than 60% of people that are old, it's either you're diabetic, it's either you have hypertension you're dealing with. You know, it has to do with the lifestyle. You know, if the lifestyle is not right, those things will definitely come. And so that's why these days you make sure that the funds are there to make you live right. That's living right. And it's money matter. Money matters. Yes.
Okay. So tell us, Muyiwa, what key steps do you think elderly Nigerians should take to now secure their retirement? Because people are not going to work forever. You know, they're not going to be young. Forget that song, forever young, forever young. They're not going to be young forever.
I agree.
So the steps they can take, you know, when they go to retirement, talking about retirement savings, and ensure financial independence when they become old, feeble, and they can no longer work.
Yeah. Okay, so Captain, first is mindset. Mindset has to be right. Mindset, and that's what we're trying to propagate now. That's why we're here, to let audience know that you have to start early, and then that's mindset. Your mindset must be ready. If your mindset is not ready, the financial that we have, there are so many things calling for them. If you have 1,000 naira today, I tell you there are so many things that you can use that 1,000 naira for. So the mindset must be right and ready to say, well, this part of my money must be put back into savings. And not just savings, not putting it under your mattresses, but putting it in a vehicle that works, that makes it grow or makes it alive. That's one. Then two, for you to really key into that, you must also have an understanding of what you want to do. That's where financial literacy comes in place. This is one of the platforms that we're using to let people know that apart from having that mindset, you also know what you want to put your money into. We've had a lot of people who retire early or who retires and then goes into investments that makes them lose their funds 100% and it brings them back to square one. And it's easier for them to get back to the grave with that kind of experience. So you must also understand the instruments you're putting your funds into. That's financial literacy. Then number three, we should also understand that there's a circle. This circle of when I'm young, I'm maturing, and that's when most of us, that second stage is when people come out of school and you start earning income. You don't use you don't eat everything. You must start saving early, putting funds aside. And at those times, because you are younger at those times, you can take more risk. And then, in my head, I have a couple of investment instruments that can advise. For example, you can do more of shares at those times, equities. You can afford to make errors. I've been around enough to tell you that we have seen the market come down maybe like 3 times over my almost 30 years in the market. And a lot of investors who played the equities market at those times, they recovered and they're back now. Such risk cannot be taken when you get older, because at that time the income you're earning has reduced. It's no more as frequent as it comes. A lot of executives today are taken care of by their offices and all that. When you retire, all those ones don't play again. So it's all about what you can put in to take care of yourself. So we should also be able to understand that there's a circle that must be put into our head. Then there's something also called diversification. Diversification now does not make you put your eggs in one basket. And there are various asset classes that will help you achieve that. And then you should also hedge, and that also helps you to hedge against risk, the risk of losing your funds. And more importantly, the elderly should not go into fresh ideas. They should not go into fresh ideas. Fresh ideas would, you don't have the experience. And I also encourage people to build a portfolio, and which is setting aside funds regularly over a period of time. It gives you opportunity to get it right. Of course, you cannot have 100% position, but you can still get it right and not and knock off the risk of losing your investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just like the strength of a young man differs from that of an old man.
Of course.
You can say from what you have said now, the risk appetite of the elderly is not the same as that of the younger people.
Yes.
So having said that, Muyiwa, how then can elderly people invest in these low risk options, talking about things like treasury bills or fixed deposits, so they can preserve their wealth and not throw them away at old age?
Yes, Captain. A lot of people in trying to avoid the administrative cost of getting a professional to advise, they tend to go to some quacks, fake people who are not properly schooled and properly regulated. Because
the old man is looking at the money and he doesn't want to spend more of it.
My brother,
trying to look for somebody to advise him.
Lose everything. We've had in the past. I can recall very, very clearly when market was very bullish in 2007 during the bank's recapitalization at that time. I sat down with a friend and told me that even the security man now knows about shares, because every day they buy the newspapers that shows the prices of stocks. I know if a security man can be telling people to buy shares, security as in Megad, that's the word now, Megad. I can say to you that then they've lost it, because they definitely will put their hands into the wrong bucket and they'll get their hands very, very burnt. So number one, you should always consult professionals who are registered. That is where you start from. Who knows, who are properly schooled and they have the experience, because experience does count. Like I said, I've seen market come down 3 times in the past 25 years. So the experience has helped us. We are getting better because the experience do count. And then, building, don't come into it all at once. Make it a gradual thing. It's gradual. And do more of fixed income, because that's what they should do right now. What the elderlies need at this point now will be regular incomes. It might not be as much as that used to come, but it will be regular. And that's why you do more of the mutual funds, you do more of the fixed income, play little in the equities market, because the dividends will come, but they come once in a year. Unlike now, of course, we have seen improvement. Most banks now pay interim dividend. Interim dividend now is dividends paid half of the year. But do more of the fixed income. That is more guaranteed. Bank, it is when the company does better, or that has enough earnings that they can pay dividend out of, which is not cast in stone. But for the fixed income, the return might not be very fantastic, but I'm sure that it's going to come.
Because as an elderly person, you don't need so much money at that time. Just to take your basics, buy a newspaper.
Basics are expensive now. medicine are the health. For the elderly, it's always, for me, I'm always concerned because it has to do with their health. At that time, there are sicknesses that never popped up when you were younger. That will always come up because of age. I have people around me who never used to be diabetic. until they turn 70. And now all of a sudden, then the doctors say to you that they are age-induced diabetic positions. So arthritis, stains all over the place. Then the glasses.
Yeah,
a man that could, or a woman that could read the Bible all by herself, exactly. Now would require binoculars to see through. So and I tell you, in a situation in this climb we find ourselves, it's rather very expensive.
I like this topic because it is close to home. If you're not affected directly, there must be somebody there around you, an elderly person that is affected by this. So you can ask the questions on their behalf. You can call us on the telephone 0700 923 923 923 on how they can make investments that can help them in their long lifetime. Let's put it that way. Or send us a message on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. If you're also looking to get tips on how you can save for your own elderly era, you can ask, and Muyiwa is very willing and ready to answer the questions right here. Once again, call us on 0700 923 923 923 or send us messages on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193 for any questions or concerns that you might have. So Muyiwa, let's talk about the best ways that these elderly people can go about this investment so they can avoid being scammed or being defrauded, because now this is the elderly people are not tech savvy, and this is the digitalization era. A lot of people are there looking to scam people, and if you have an old man there who is not well informed in all of these things, it's just a few numbers he'll punch in and his life savings are gone. So how do they take care of that?
Well, maybe I'll say I belong to the old school. Thank God for COVID, and then thank God for where we find ourselves today. I belong to that school that found it so difficult to give my optimum while in virtual meetings, because I believe in the physical thing. Well, thank God for internet, and because it has also taken away the extra cost of traveling and all that. But all that said, for the elderly, I would advise strictly, number one, understand the product you're going into, the asset class you're going into. It is important you have a basic understanding. And we have not said too much today, and we've not shared grammars that cannot be understood. Number one, understand what you're going into. Then number two, the professionals will be professionals. The professionals are not out there to yank you off. They're not there to, let me borrow the word of what's this man? Portable. To rip you. They're not out there to rip you. They are just there to. They are more out there to sell their brand. They are more out there, yes, to be profitable, but in a professional way. Let's be profitable. This is the cost to this. So if elderlies can get that in place, I tell you, every other thing will
just fall in place.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about this aspect of elderly people's lives. Not many want to talk about it, because in this climb, people believe that once you start talking about it, you are getting ready to die. This is estate planning. Estate planning, will. When you just mention will, they say, but Bible say, you won't die. You won't kill me before my time. Why is it important for the elderly people to actually have this when it comes to distributing their assets?
The Nigerian system, Africa in general, they have a particular way to assign asset left behind by the elderly. That conflicts most times with the current happenings when you look at the current laws that guides asset allocation by the disease. So it is important that the elderly puts in place a will that will specifically state how his or our assets will be divided, or else there will be commotion at home. And we've seen families, that some renowned families today who are not on talking terms because the wills that were even written were not probably well written, and the wordings are not specific. So those families are at a loggerhead with themselves. So for me, the will is critical and it is important. As a matter of fact, it is a must. I would advise all elderlies, because you are writing a will does not mean you're going to pass in another 5 years. It even gives you an opportunity to always come back to review it. So the will is critical and it is important. It is important to our lives, yes.
Okay. So how do elderly people protect their assets from devaluation due to inflation? See what we're going through in Nigeria now.
Yeah.
Inflation figures, racing towards the 40% mark. Also unstable exchange rates.
Yeah.
These things are our reality right now. The dollar is almost changing for 1,700. How do they mitigate against this?
Okay. I mentioned earlier on asset classes. I talked about mutual funds. Mutual funds gives individuals, gathers individuals, and then help them put their funds into asset classes that ordinarily an individual might not be able to take up. There's also another asset class called ETF. ETF gives opportunity to investors to play in so many asset classes. Part of it can be in equities, part of it can be in forex, part of it can be in bonds. So in this case now, my advice to the elderly, so that they can preserve their capital and preserve their funds, is to play around the equities. Whenever they approach their stockbrokers, should let them understand that we have an understanding of ETF. That's what it's called, equity traded funds. Let them play around that. That gives them an opportunity to play around, and in doing that, it helps them edge, so that when one asset class is coming down, the other one is there to take it up. And so, on the long run, they are better off. Yeah.
So, what about insurance? Are insurance products such as life insurance or health insurance, are they suitable for the elderly Nigerians, and how should they choose the right ones? Because there are very many of them right now competing for this market.
I would if I
without mentioning names, actually.
Yes, but for me, the returns from from that sector, for me personally, the returns are always are not adequate. When you look at inflation, for example, we just talked about inflation now. It don't make sense for me to get a return of 10% and inflation is about 20%. So it's wiped off not just the return, but it has also taken part of my capital. So for the elderlies, those products might exist. Maybe the health insurance, yes. But if it has to do with returns, there are other asset classes that I believe would beat the returns from
health insurance. You don't want to say that one. Okay. I know that this is a lot of education going out to the elderly people right there. You can still send us a message on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. Or we have like 3 minutes left on the program. You can call 0700 923 923 923. If you have a question, Muyiwa can advise you on how best you can invest your retirement savings so your fingers are not burnt, and so you don't lose all that money you worked for, so you can go home and enjoy your retirement in peace, knowing that your money is there, even working for you and making more money for you in retirement. Let me ask you this last question. If you can answer just in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Tell us some practical strategies for elderly Nigerians to actually downsize their lifestyles or reduce expenses without really compromising the quality of their lives. Sometimes some people say, well, in order for us to adjust to the current reality, we have to reduce the quality of the food we eat. Not just quantity but quality. How do they strike a balance?
Well, it's not just reducing it's not the quantity for me, it's the quality of whatever you take into and then the quality of sleep, and then more importantly, nobody is too old for exercise. You don't have to get into the very hard rigor of exercise. There are exercises that can be advised, that can be given as advice to the elderly. That is one. So it's more about lifestyle check. Then health check. Those regular checks, we should not play with it. It is important they do the regular checks, and then more importantly also, elderly should not sleep alone. I've heard that several times. Not sleep alone or have themselves locked up and all that. So I think with that they will reduce that will now reduce what is spent from their savings on medicals. Yes.
But here in this part of the world, you see some of these elderly people, especially the ones that seem to be well-to-do, they have a lot of dependents. People are sending them messages.
Budget.
Like an elderly person I know that is very close to me. There are some persons who are just waiting.
Yes, every month.
When he receives his allowances, they're sending, say, Grandpa, our children, we have not eaten. And Grandpa is now, disbursing his money here and there.
Grandpas and grandmas should learn. When I get to that age, I think I will also want to dish out.
Yes.
Because it means I've been able to save well. So if Grandpa has saved properly well over the years, giving grandchildren tips for sweets and chocolates might not be out of.
I'm talking about budget. People are just waiting for the month to end so they can pry on Grandpa's allowances, and Grandpa doesn't know how to say no
because Grandpa has. If Grandpa does not have,
yes.
It means Grandpa has done very well. He has started early. He has managed his lifestyle very, very well. So he's still healthy enough to still earn income for the grandchildren. I think it's not a bad idea. Personally, I think it's not a bad idea.
All right. I told you that 30 minutes is not a long time on the radio. We've had Olumuyiwa Adeyemi on the program this evening, and we've been discussing financial advisory nuggets for the elderly. I know if you listen as an elderly person, you must have gotten that wisdom. So put it to proper use. And one thing I learned from Muyiwa this evening is that if you've got money, don't spend all. Don't save all. Don't sow all. Spend some, save some, and sow some. And that's what I got this evening. Thank you, Muyiwa, for coming to the program this evening. We've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to having you soon. Get on the program. That's our package this week. Join us again next time. Till then, keep making finance a force for good. Smart Uzechi is my name. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Money Talks, hosted by the CFA Society Nigeria. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at CFA Society Nigeria. Follow us for more financial insight and updates. Keep a date with us next time.